Good morning, YouTubers, and to my Blank Slaters. I always write down stuff and plan that I'm going to be talking about that particular one individual question. I always write it all down and my chicken scratch. But what usually happens is I'm a very lateral thinker, someone that I don't have a very linear line of thought. I'm always thinking about all the other possibilities and other things that can be affecting the person that's asking the question. And obviously, one person can be indicative of what a lot of people actually experience in their lives. So one of our members, Tyler Foran, who's, an amazing example of somebody that is capable of changing himself in a major way. And I know you won't mind me mentioning you, Tyler, because your journey speaks for itself. When I first met him, he was always open to listening to everything that I said, but he wouldn't just take it as verbatim truth, and he would go and do his own research and ask questions and come back and ask more questions. And that's really what I'm getting at, is that there is no one specific solution to anyone's health and wellness problems. And at the end of the day, it totally comes down to human behavior, your own personal behavior, and behaviors that you may or may not know that you're doing, which is also known as being unconscious. Some people will talk about it, but they talk to you about being unconscious. And, but it's a fact that many people don't even know that they're doing these small incremental little things on a daily basis that then add up into a huge mountain of problems for themselves. And I would call that like the stock exchange effect. I wrote down here, that's kind of like the cumulative compounding effect of like many different little investment things that always make the stock exchange go up over time. Well, if you're looking at it kind of in a reverse way, that you don't want you'd like to have a positive result with your personal cumulative effect, right? So you have to look at it and say, what investments am I making into my health and wellness journey? And is my stock exchange a positive one? Are all the deposits that I'm making to it ones that affect positive change, or are the majority really bad trades that are going to make my whole progression go down to the bottom? And it comes down to your personal choices every single day, every minute that you're awake, and whether you're aware or not of specifically what you're doing. So someone can talk to me about, I'm following a high-fat diet, it doesn't work. There's a myriad of other effects going on too. If you prepare your kids' meals and you're sampling a cookie where you just ate your own meal 1 hour before, and you don't realize that insulin sits in your system for 2 hours, and that cookie is automatically stored because you forgot that you ate an hour ago and you're only thinking about one meal that you ate. Then if you do that on a daily ongoing basis, one cookie is actually 7 per week, and then whatever you ate in the 2 hour period before it is also preferentially getting stored. Whether it's protein or fat, doesn't matter. Both of them then get driven into your fat storage. And right now, of course, it's just really easy to use an example of just the nutrition aspect. The nutrition is just an easy one to break down and let people see what's happening. So if you're adding all these little tiny things incrementally over a longer period of time, and they're not positive, then your net effect in your personal stock exchange is that you're going to actually have, it's going like this. It isn't going like this if we're looking at it in a health perspective. A good balance in your stock portfolio of health being up here, and you may have little parts where it goes down. You may have the death of a family member. You might get sick. There could be a whole bunch of things, and it will go down a little bit. But in general, if all of your inputs are on a positive nature, then your personal stock exchange is going to be one of wealth, health, personal wealth. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about being wealthy in your emotion and in your spiritual life and your social life and everything else, working out, training, diet, nutrition, your friends, your social circle, your family. All of those things are, you could say, like a result of your personal deposits and your choices and maybe your diversity of investment into your own health practices. I don't know if this is making any sense because, like I said, I always write stuff down and I think I know what I'm going to say, and it never comes out that way. But I think that's one of the gifts that I've been given, is that not having this like super linear thought process, and you're able to like take things from all different angles and amalgamate it in and put it into a nice analogy so that people can see. So Tyler's first, he was replying back to a post that I made called Top Down View. Why is it not just you nutrition? And I listed a whole bunch of things. I was like a checklist. Say, do you really get 6 to 8 hours of deep sleep every day and practice circadian hygiene? Do you really eat what you say you do at least 90% of the time? Do you actually know if you're fully hydrated with real, clean, natural water? And again, there's so many little nitty gritty things that you can get into. And it's like, am I going to structure my water now? Am I going to buy easy water and all this other stuff? But at the end of the day, if your basic investments into your personal wellness portfolio are not good choices on a regular, ongoing, everyday basis, and all those little tiny things cease to matter. It's the whole like seeing the forest for the trees analogy. So at the end of the day, if you haven't been taking a really good inventory of all these tiny little habits that build up over time, and then they kind of they direct the direction of which way you're going to be going, whether it's in a positive, healthy way, or whether you're gradually going to decline and you're going to have a zero bank account in terms of like your health wellness, health wealth, health wealth, you know? So getting fixated on one particular item and say, you know, I've got to just like becoming obsessed about just your diet is also an indication that you're avoiding a lot of other things that are contributing to your stress. Because this was one of the things that Tyler commented. He was talking about school and friends at school, and he said, I think the biggest contributing factor to failure and poor health is stress. A lot of my friends were stress eating during exams, and now that's over, and they're stressed about the stress eating because probably they put on a few pounds, and now they're like stressed about that. And my reply was, in general, I just said, especially with younger people that are in school, it is stressful. You're thinking about your future and all the other things. But I said, in general, I would say that a high percentage of people that are not happy with how they look and feel is due to being out of touch with their own inner self, emotionally or physically, as well as not having enough structure to their daily activity. Stress eating is indicative of not having a set out routine or daily schedule, especially when it comes to students in school. So I go into a little bit about like when I was in university like 20 years ago and I was a competitive bodybuilder. It actually helped me, even though my actual like diet itself isn't something that I would now consider to be healthy. But the way that I ate, it was like I had a cooler full of food. I had like 6 meals in there all the time. It was all set out. I didn't think about that, and it didn't distract me from all the other things that I had to do, like sticking to my schedule, taking the subway all the way from Carlton Street, downtown Toronto, all the way to York University every day, while also holding down three jobs. You know, by the time I was in year 2, it's 3 jobs. The diet part, because I had that one, it was just like a set routine. Whether or not my macronutrient profile and everything was correct ceased to matter, because it was just healthier for me just from a mental standpoint, because I didn't have to sit there and think, oh, am I eating right? Oh, now I got to do my studies, but I got to eat, and it all becomes disjointed. So if you don't have a set out routine and schedule, and you're not really in tune and in touch with like how you feel emotionally and physically too, this is going to have a huge effect. So this is why I said here, I wrote down for myself, talk about why one question or topic leads to all these other ones. Because we aren't just our diet and nutrition. We're not just like how well we sleep. We're not just, we're this like, our life is like this amazing tapestry that we're painting as we go along. And you can come up with a really crappy picture if you're kind of like doing this little bit and I can only focus on that. If the artist doesn't step back and look at like the overall, the title of my post was Top Down View of everything that's going on, and take stock of all that stuff, then concentrating on one thing is only going to lead you farther down the path to despair and wondering why it just never goes right. So I guess the takeaway for this whole thing is, no, it isn't just like, did you do your high fat diet right or wrong? Or do you follow paleo? Or do you do this? Or do you do that? It's like none of these specific things. I absolutely do know people that follow a higher carb diet and they apparently, for all intents and purposes, look excellent health and everything. I have no idea what their blood profile looks like. Neither do they, for the most part, because no one really checks in on that stuff. But I'm not going to tell anyone to eat a specific way. If they are currently in their own life perfectly happy with how they are, how they look, and how they feel, and they're not sitting at home like, when they're not out in the public view, or, if it's not what it appears on Facebook, what's really going on at home, well then that's fine. And they know that too. And they will continue happily on, and they'll probably be one of those people that's a centenarian, those people that joyfully live past 100 years old. Because studies of all those types of people in all different parts of the world show that they don't follow any specific diet. They don't follow any specific style, but they do have certain things that they practice on a daily basis every day that are now it's just rote for them. It is routine, and they have many rituals that they do. So some of them do smoke, some of them drink, some of them aren't even nice people. I'm actually almost quoting from one guy that I really follow a lot. His name passes my mind right now, but it doesn't matter. That's almost a direct quote. He said they couldn't find anything that was really specific, but there were certain things that were common amongst all of them. And one of them was ritual, family connection, routine, and not worrying about stuff. Actually just being okay in their own skin. And that brings me to, well, I'll have to get that to the next one, because it was a message from another friend in a text that I wanted to read, because it all wrapped up into this, and it was just about being comfortable in your own skin. And that's where, again, I also like to encourage people, if they haven't taken up some type of meditative practice or develop the ability to be able to just be by yourself with no distractions, and being okay, just being there by yourself. Because that's a really, I think it's a famous quote or saying. It's like, wherever you go,